Molding Talk. Molding Talk.
Hey, Tough as Nails fans. Thanks for joining us here on More Than Tough, where we're hanging out with competitors from Tough as Nails. And today we are blessed to have Merrill from season 2. So thanks for joining us, Merrill.
Yeah, thank you, Leah. Thank you for having me. Really appreciate it.
Awesome. We're really excited to get into this with you and just find out more about you and hear about some of your thoughts while you were competing on Tough as Nails. And I know your stories are going to inspire others and motivate others to reach for their dreams and push through hard times. So let's get into it. You were raised by a single mother in the Bronx, and I'm sure that had a big part of shaping who you are. You give us a little insight as to what growing up was like for you?
So for me, growing up in the Bronx, it was really a mixture of two cultures. You had the Black culture and also the Jewish culture. I mean, I grew up, around a lot of people like we're first generation immigrants that still spoke Yiddish and Hebrew around, and the mentality at that time was like, seriously, the village raised like the children. So like if you were outside and you were acting up, I had this one lady who would be like on the second story of all these high rises that are watching. And if you did something bad, your mom would find out about it through the grapevine. So, you kind of, had to mind your P's and Q's. I mean, it didn't stop me from doing some crazy stuff, but, you always knew that people were watching you. So that was, me growing up in the 70s, like you, we're women of a particular age. So
Great age.
it is a great age. It is not quite a golden age. I'm gonna call it the great age. Golden age is maybe another decade from now. So it was more of just kind of diverse. It was, kids just growing up being kids, getting in trouble, just exploring and doing things. So you're right. My mom was more of a single parent when I was around 7 or 8. Around the same time, I decided that I wanted to be an astronaut. I watched a lot of science fiction, and Star Trek was the thing. And once I saw Star Trek, I got the bug that I wanted to boldly go where no one has gone before. So at that age, I set out this framework of what I wanted to do in life and proceeded to execute.
I think that's extraordinary that at the age of 7, you were like, that's what I want to do, and this is how I'm going to do it. You knew you were going to get a college degree?
Yes. For someone, I always say that when I saw Star Trek, there was some blueprint. Maybe it was subliminal, maybe it wasn't. When you looked at the characters, you knew they all went to Starfleet Academy, right? So, you translate that, an academy is a university, right? So they all were good in math and science. I said, I'm not sure if I'm good in math and science, but I'm going to be, right? So, you have to, know your math and stuff. I said I wanted to be a pilot because I wanted to fly the Enterprise. So I said, all right, I'm going to be a pilot. As I grew older, I knew there were two tracks. You're either going to go commercial or military. Coming from the Bronx, my mom didn't have a lot of money. So, military is just a better option. You don't pay with money, you pay with time and service. So I knew that getting a commercial license was not going to be the way for me at that time. And I just started things that I just saw in life. Everything I did in my life was to build upon the foundation of, one day being with NASA. So every class I took, if I played music, whatever I did, sports was all towards that one goal. What's interesting is that, my husband and I were talking yesterday about what drives people and why do some people make it in and why do some people not? Beyond the fact that everyone's dealt a different hand and everyone may have different opportunities or just the path that they're where they were born, maybe they're at a disadvantage, right? But some people make it with even the worst set of hands dealt to them. They become incredibly successful. And some people who have it all don't do anything. And we were just trying to talk about what makes people tick. And I was like, one, is there a catch-all thing that you can do for people, or one thing you could say to motivate everyone? And as my husband and I were talking, I think the answer is no. For everyone, I think everyone's motivated differently. Everyone, has this fire within them. It's some burn hotter than others, right? So some people believe in themselves more. Other people have other people believe in them. So it was a really good conversation because we're just trying to figure it out. So I'll stop pontificating.
Oh, no, that's a great conversation to have. Um, kind of in line with that, getting into the military, that wasn't just handed to you. You didn't walk a block down to the recruiters and they said, "Sure, you can be a pilot," right? There's a pretty good story behind that too, isn't there?
There is, again, I was this kid that was just on this mission that I said I wanted to be, an astronaut. I didn't see people who looked like me at the time, although in the 80s, there were some black astronauts, but I didn't see someone do specifically what I wanted to do, but it didn't stop me. And I didn't, I wasn't going to take no for an answer just because I didn't see someone. And when I graduated college, I got a degree in electrical engineering. And when I went to the recruiters, because I said at that point I wanted to join the branch of service, particularly the Navy recruiters said there's no pilot slots available. They said, "Hey, we have all these other slots, enlisted slots available, but we don't have pilot slots at the time." And I said, "Okay, thank you very much." And I would try to reach out to another recruiter and another recruiter. Same thing. I reached out to the Marine Corps when I was in college. They said women at that time, they weren't accepting as combat aviators. So I wasn't interested. I finally went to the Army and looked at their warrant officer program. And they said, "Hey, you need to take the ASVAB. And if you do," I see you get excited. Uh, Take the ASVAB and then we'll see. And I did. And I tested well. And they were like, "Hey, we we could put you in the warrant officer program. You can fly helicopters." And I was like, "All right, sounds good." So I was like a couple of days from swearing in to the Army, believe it or not. And then my boyfriend, who was a corpsman in the Navy, he called me up and said, "Hey, I talked to a recruiter in San Diego and they want to talk to you." And I spoke to the recruiter in San Diego who was at a recruiting district. And he said, "If you could get out here, take the test, pass, we'll get you a pilot slot." And I was like, "All right, bet." So I turned down the Army and I took a 5-day bus trip out to San Diego and proceeded to go take the test. So then the rest was kind of history.
It goes to prove that if you want it bad enough, you can get it, right? I mean, a 5-day bus trip is no easy task for a young lady, heading all the way across the country. And but you did it. That's You said you met some interesting characters. It's a bus. Come on.
It is a bus. Like, in 2022, would I get on a bus and go across country? Absolutely not. Like, no. There's like, if my daughter said, "Mom, I want to go on a bus trip over to New York," I'd be like, "No." It was it was a good time, but yeah, at that moment, I wanted to start my life. I was 22 years old. I just graduated college. I was working in a job. Actually, I wasn't working at the time. I was looking at recruiters and looking to start working. And this was an opportunity. Why not take that opportunity? What would have happened if I didn't do it? I would still be, I'd still be in the Bronx. I mean, why would I pass that up?
but but it takes effort, and so sometimes when when a when a goal takes a little more effort than people are willing to put in it, then it gets passed by. So
Absolutely. So, it goes back to the discussion with my husband. What makes some people more motivated to, want to get to their goals? Some people just talk a lot and talk about woulda, coulda, shoulda, but they never do it. So, um, where's that internal drive, that internal fire that burns inside you? How hungry are you to get it? I always tell people that if you're not doing what's required to get to that destination, there's probably 100 other people that are trying to do the same thing, and are gonna take that risk. So what are you waiting for? You know, let's
Right.
go. What happens if you fail? What happens if I got there and I I took the test and didn't pass? Okay, I didn't pass. So maybe other options would have presented itself, but I would not have known if I had not gone there. So um and it wasn't easy. Once I took the test and passed, they gave me a PT test. At that time, I did not run very well. I had to retake that test. I mean, I was athletic, but I was definitely, out of college and I was not in the best of shape at that point. So I had to get my butt in gear, drop some weight, and start running again. So I did it.
I'm glad you did. Yeah, that's another point. You say, what if you had failed the test? Well, take it again, right? I mean, be persistent.
Right. Persistent is, there's no, everyone says there's no such thing as failures. It's only teaching moments, growing moments, right? So it's opportunities to learn and to be better. So yeah, thank goodness I didn't fail the test and I passed it, but I was definitely ready and I was studying for that test in case it came up that I had to take it. But yeah, how prepared are you? Are you willing to take those risks? Are you willing to fail? And are you willing to get up after failure? I always tell my son when he doesn't do well in something and he gets upset and he gets mad and I could see it like his competitiveness starts boiling up. I say to him, "Hey, okay, you didn't get the goal. You didn't shoot the shot." I said, "But now this is the point where it truly shows the type of person you are. Are you going to get mad and start crying and start kicking the ball and throwing it away to show what type of person you are? Or are you just going to get in there, suck it up, stay focused, and continue to press on?" So he doesn't like when I say that, but he knows I'm right.
Yeah. Every time you say it, it'll sink in a little more.
It'll sink in a little more. Yes.
So, if you will entertain my question, I'd like to hit on something you said, and that was you didn't see people that looked like you. And
Yeah.
I do hear that a lot, and I wonder to myself, because I've been in a lot of male-oriented or traditionally male-dominated occupations, and I've often wondered why it's so important to see people that look like us to motivate us instead of just saying, I saw something I thought was interesting to do, and so I'm going to try to do it. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'm going to take it from two angles. I think it goes back to the conversation I had last night. I think some people are motivated. Some people are just motivated, right? Some people are just go-getters no matter what. I want that, I'm going to go do it. Some other people may have to see someone do it first and say, "Oh, that's attainable. Oh, okay." Um, I think that mm, I'm going to speculate. Maybe it's based on upbringing, based on the conditions of where you're at, um, the opportunities that are given to you. And then when you see something and you go, "Wow, you can actually do that. I didn't know that.
Mhm.
Oh man." So, um, and some people that spark comes from watching someone else, or that spark comes from something on TV, or maybe something that they see on YouTube. Um, for me, it was a science fiction show. Um, I think what I do now, what I do on my, Instagram or my social media platform is to be that example for others. I get a lot of comments sometimes, like from young kids saying, "Wow, I didn't know you could be a pilot," or from young girls that say, "Wow, I didn't realize that that was a possibility." Um, I and I will take it a step further. On another social media platform, someone wrote a very nice article about me, or a little little post, and some person said, well, what does my color have to do with it, or the fact that I'm female or whatever? And I responded to this guy, um, in, and I just said, to some people it means nothing, like, but for some people it means everything. Some kids that I see will come up to me and just like, wow, that's awesome. I want to do that. And I don't think they would have ever done it if they had not seen me do it. So to answer your question, I think it just depends on the person. It depends on their level of motivation, and it depends on what motivates them, for them to be inspired. So I know what I do is important. At what level, I don't know. All I know is that if my presence of what I do inspires men, women, um, any ethnicity, whatever, to be the better version of themselves, I'll keep doing what I need to do to inspire that in people.
Thank you. That really opened my eyes because I always thought we should just be inspired, regardless of the color of the person inspiring us or the gender of the person inspiring us. Just let someone inspire you because they're another human being and they're doing things that you want to do. Just don't limit yourself because they don't look like you or they're not the same gender or they're bigger than you. Just just connect because as human beings we need to connect, and that's but I see your point. We need to also, as people trying to set an example, um, be the example other people need, regardless of what motivates them. And
Y-
that's a great lesson.
Yeah, I laugh because some things are very subliminal, like in the 70s, right? I talk about in my book, for there was check marks on what do you want to do when you grow up. And for boys, it said firefighter, policeman, military person. And then for girls, it was like secretary, nurse. Like it wasn't, and I was like, man, back then there were definitely roles that gender played in everything.
Mhm.
So I think some people, even now, my daughter, when she was in the foster care system, when she came to us, it was the weirdest thing to me. We had color coded kids bowls for the kids. So I wasn't paying attention and we gave him a tray and my son had the pink one and my daughter had the green one. And she looked at my son and she goes, well, pink is for girls. And I'm like, what? Like, I was like, what do you mean? And my son was like, what are you talking about?
That's
And,
great.
and what's funny about it is that she was in another foster family that was older, and they believed in pink is for girls, blue is for boys. And she picked that up. And I think it took like 6 months for her to get out of her mind, we don't care the color, just take a color, we don't care. And there's nothing wrong with loving pink. I think girls gravitate towards pink. But my son was like, dude, pink is bomb. Like he'll go rock it. He doesn't care. Like he's very confident in whatever he does. But she was so fixed on these roles and these things. And I think in the 70s we were, as we were raised like that, we had, Merrill, you want to be an astronaut? Well, don't boys just do that? Oh, no. So, I was like, I don't care. I just want to do it. So maybe, we look at 2022, we would hope we would be further along, but I think there's still some thought about what roles people should be, unfortunately. So sometimes I think it's good to see like someone who's kind of maybe someone in that role that's a little uncommon to see. And
Right.
then you kind of break that mold down or break those barriers down, which I hate to say, I think is still out there because I have a 7-year-old that was like, hey, pink's only for girls, blue's for boys. I was like, huh, that's weird. She's over that. She's over that now. She likes green. She likes a whole bunch of colors.
Wonderful. I was concerned for a moment there. I was like, oh my gosh, she only likes one color. Uh, very boring wardrobe, pink every day. Um, But
Yes.
not to discourage people from doing, traditional roles too. I mean, it's important to be a mother at home. It's important to be an administrative assistant, whether you're male or female. All roles are
Absolutely.
important. Just do what you love and do it well.
Right. Absolutely. Like, man, being a stay-at-home mom, I think is one of the most difficult jobs. Like any woman that does that, kudos to you, because if I had to stay home with my kids all day and homeschool them and do without all that, they wouldn't make it.
Oh yeah, or stay-at-home dads or folks running daycares. I mean, those are important roles. I mean, you're in that child's life every day and you're molding them and influencing them, and that's a big responsibility. And my
Huge.
hat goes off to folks doing that.
Absolutely.
Great segue. Earlier you said, as I said in my book, which is Shatter the Sky, What Going to the Stratosphere taught me.
Shameless plug. Shameless
Big,
plug.
go for it. So, what motivated you to write an autobiography? That is an enormous task to undertake.
Yes. So it's a huge task. For probably back in 2012, I had one person in particular who kept saying, "Merrill, write a book, write a book," and I was like, "No." Like I was not even interested in talking about myself, and that was 10 years ago. Fast forward to my retirement, and fast forward to Tough as Nails, which we'll probably segue into later. As I was going through the interview process and I started making it through the wickets, I was like, oh wow, this might be real. Maybe I should write a book and and talk about these experiences, because I said if this goes down, I'll be on a show that millions of people will see, and maybe I can inspire people in that way, because at that point I was a personal trainer. So I reached out to my friend who 10 years, at that time, maybe 8 years prior, told me to write a book. And I said, look, I know you had someone who could be a potential ghostwriter, and let me talk to them. And so I started working with someone, doing some interviews. And sure enough, I made the finals for Tough as Nails. And my friend and writer, his name is Lance Thompson. He had edited a lot of my blog stuff or other things that I've written. He looked over a lot of my interviews. We collaborated, and in 1 month, we came up with the manuscript, which is the basis for this book. Decided to go independent, found a production slash publishing company called Maverick Productions under a now friend of mine. Her name is Merryl Richter, and she did the final edits and sequencing for the book. So, I had two experts in their trades and their fields, and they're good at what they do. So, um, for me, writing the book on my own, yes, I can write, but it's hard for me to write about myself. So I needed some help. The cover of the book is actually a picture in the Pentagon. So it's an oil painting by Chris Hopkins. And he allowed me, rights to do whatever I need to do with the um the picture, and then everything else fell into place. So it was good. The
Well,
timing was right.
well, I'm so glad for who you are, and that to come to know you through the show, and now to be able to sit down and talk with you. I mean, it's just neat to be able to connect with people who inspire you and who genuinely want to connect with other people and help them succeed in life too. So I greatly appreciate that about you. That's so neat. Um,
Thank you.
so I'm curious why you applied for Tough as Nails, because let me just go down a list real quick here. Okay, college degree in engineering, Seahawk helicopter pilot, T-34 and T-6 fixed wing instructor and pilot, U-2 pilot, flying in the stratosphere. So I'm thinking you don't have a lack of confidence or self-worth. Um, so what piqued your interest? What did you need another challenge? What I'm I'm baffled.
Yeah, so I mean, tough as nails. Again, that's a once in a lifetime opportunity, right? To compete with some high caliber people in a competition, to go head to head with people who more like similar to me, the backbone of America, but in different capacities, whether they're bricklayers, people who actually build foundations for America, right? Do stuff. And I thought, this is the best of the best. Let's go compete. Let's see where this goes. I like the competition. And also this is about 3 years after I retired. So, I retired in 2017, and I'm a fitness trainer, I'm motivating people, I'm doing stuff, and here's this opportunity that's a possibility. How can you say no to that? It's once in a lifetime shot to do that. So I said yes.
So I think you see on Tough as Nails a certain kind of personality, and that would be people that are motivated and kind of feed on competition and
Yes.
pushing themselves. Um, so a lot of dynamic, uh, high energy individuals. Um, so
Yes.
that's all you can say. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yes, there are. Yes, there are.
Well, all right. Well, let's roll into highly motivated, dynamic personalities on a team of six and Savage Crew. That's it's a good start.
It is. What would you like to know about season 2 Savage Crew?
Team dynamic.
Yes. So, I mean, for the team, you had Mikey, who was the captain who picked the team. You had Sally, who was a nurse, Sarah, who's a welder, Swifty, who was a steel worker, Scott, who's supervisor, and then of course Mikey, who was the brick mason, and then myself, military pilot, veteran. I think after we kind of settled out, we had a great team. Most people know that we started out with 6 and we ended with 5. And I could tell you that my other 4 teammates that I was with through the end were phenomenal people. Um, they were great people, great characters. We were all strong, opinionated people, but we worked that out. And that's what you have in growing pains. You, you throw people together in this very intense competition, you're going to have some growth happening and you're going to have growing pains. So, but that didn't mean that we didn't love each other less. We hammered anything out that we had a problem with after a competition in the van, and we talked about it. And then the next time we came back stronger. I mean, those 4 individuals are like my family. I'll do anything for them. Unfortunately, we couldn't have 6, but that's how that works out sometimes.
Sometimes life throws a monkey wrench into what you're doing.
Yeah, sometimes it does.
But so during the team competitions, uh, you would lose and learn from it, then win, and then your communication would break down again, and then you get it back, and so it was a bit of a yo-yo all through the season with you guys. It's like, oh my gosh, I thought they had it together. Oh, they're not talking this time. Oh, now they're communicating. Oh, but now they're fighting. So,
I don't think we ever really fought. I think there were some times where maybe someone would make a decision and override somebody.
yeah. Okay. Not so much fighting, but more like frustration. Like
Yes.
in the stadium competition, and you have to unlock those panels. And poor
Yes.
Scott, he was getting so frustrated with the panels not being locked or people not moving fast enough. Or say on your first team competition with the lobster traps, uh, oh, we should have taken them from the front. We should have done it this way. Oh, what's happening? And once again, Scott's standing on the boat going, I'm here. What? And then Phil's egging him on. So what are you doing, Scott? Oh, I'm stacking lobster traps. And he's like, oh, he goes, yeah, that's what I'm doing. And there's not a lobster trap in sight. So,
You know, so what's funny is that I was the team captain for the lobster trap. So and I remember that seriously, like one knot lost. Seriously, that's how tight that competition was. And I will tell you, I was pretty angry at myself, but I was disappointed. We all handled stress differently, and some were more vocal about it than others. But I will tell you that, we settled our differences out there at that moment or after the competition, whether we won or lost.
in 5 weeks, all that emotion, all that physical energy, and you hit so many highs and lows. It's exhausting, I think. And so yeah, your emotions, for some reason, I watched the first show and I'm like, why are you people crying? You know, and then, then you get there and you're like, oh my gosh, everything makes me cry. Just
I,
people
I,
watching don't understand just how tired you are, and just the pressure of everything going on around you, and there's so much going on.
I wouldn't say I cried a lot on camera, but I did when Sully got eliminated, right? So when Sully got eliminated, I don't know, it hit our whole team hard. It just hit us hard. And at that time, I didn't know Scott. I mean, Scott and I had this on-camera relationship that I didn't realize we were doing all that stuff. It was cute. Anyway, I didn't know Scott was such a crier, and I like. And Sally was, she was in tears because she was working hard, and that overtime was a little frustrating for her. And I remember, I was trying to look for comfort in Sarah because I said Sarah won't cry. She's a welder, and she's all eyes are teared up. And I'm like, damn it. And I go, okay, Scott. And Scott's over there just a hot mess, like just. And I'm like, damn it, Scott. and then and I start tearing up, and then Phil looks at me, and I could tell he's looking at me, and I'm like, damn it, Phil, don't you dare ask me a question. He goes, so Merrill, what do you want to say about Sally? I didn't know what to say. Sally and I, we're, she's the nurse, I'm the pilot, and she just was incredible. She was, you didn't. I think people underestimated her a lot because she was kind of sassy, and she had this swagger about her that was cute and sassy but hardworking. She talked trash, but she'd get in there and work hard. So, you know, yeah, just she was my friend. So, I love that about her. So, yeah, I think that was the only time, and I remember when that episode aired, a friend of mine called. They were like, "Did you just cry on television?" And I was like, "Shut up, leave me alone." It was an emotional time.
You weren't there.
You weren't there. You didn't know what happened.
You want to start with individual challenges, or we can jump right into the overtime?
Yeah, we could start with the overtime. I mean, I went into overtime after the orange challenge. I just wasn't fast enough. But the overtime itself, it was me and Arida doing like the irrigation, getting buckets in, and I just got beat. When I got eliminated, people were like, "Dude, what happened?" I go, "Nothing. I just lost." And they were like, "But you didn't look upset about it." I go, "Why would I be?" I said, I gave everything I could at that moment, at that period of time, and it wasn't good enough. So, it was really close. And I said, there's nothing I could do. There's nothing I could do different. If there was something I could have did differently to change the outcome, I would have.
And my gosh, you were out there an hour, just a little over an hour, running back and forth in, I imagine, 90 plus degree heat. I can't imagine the distance you ran, plus carrying that water with you. That was a daunting task. Now, you set a
Yeah.
great example. You gave it your all. And when you didn't win, you were gracious and humble,
Oh,
and you showed a genuine joy for Uriah winning, and that showed on the screen. So
Oh, absolutely. I mean, she was a great competitor as well. Like I said, this is the cream of the crop when you're competing with people. It's funny that that day or that night when that happened, you think about it. I think about it as you're on the field as a football player or basketball player who's playing every day, being judged by millions of people on a game, right? I feel bad for those guys because they have to always be gracious and accept it. And sometimes they're not. And people descend on them. Why did you act that way? Dude, because it's freaking hard.
not everybody's gonna like you, and not everybody's gonna dislike you, and some people could care less. So it's you've got to take it with a grain of salt. Just like who you are and don't worry about everybody else.
Absolute. Oh man. Episode 3 for us in the van is when I said to Swifty, I was glad he didn't get eliminated in the first overtime. Because I said, and I'm paraphrasing what I said, something like, I'm glad a brother didn't get knocked out in the first round. I said it like, and the reason why I said that is because season 1, Lynette was the first. And remember, we said how people look shouldn't matter. But when I saw Lynette on season 1, and I saw her, and I noticed, just like every other Black female who watched the show noticed, she was the only Black female on the show, and she was the first to be eliminated. And I remember going, no, like I love Young, I love him, but it was one of those moments like, I, it was just this cultural pride thing, like no, Lynette, no. So when I saw Swifty going into overtime in the first overtime, I was like, no, Swift. Not only was he a Savage crew member, but culturally, I was like, you got to win this one, Swifty. You got to win this one. So I was, for lack of a better term, he was my teammate and I loved it. I just didn't want to see him be eliminated. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. Scott had some things to say when you were doing that conversation, and he was like, well, I never thought of it that way. Or,
Yes.
no, I can't understand what it is to be a person of color. And so that opened my eyes. I think mine's wishful thinking that it shouldn't be that way. And I have a hope that all people can just be who they are without other people saying, well, it's because of the color of their skin or it's because of
Right.
their gender. Because yes, some people are judging you, but for everyone that's judging you, there's other people that are cheering you on. So
Absolutely.
I think it's just kind of got to get in our own minds and focus on what's good about who we are and what we represent, if that
Right.
makes sense.
It does. And again, that conversation was based on current events that were unfolding during the shooting of that show, right? So when I brought that up, there were other things happening, and a lot of people asked me, "Were you?" They said, "Merrill, did they script that in for you?" I go, "Look, everything was organic. That conversation was totally organic. That conversation was something that I needed to bring up because I just thought it was appropriate." And I thought it was great to have Sarah and Scott in that conversation because even in those couple of days that we had known each other, we began to like form this family bond and we were comfortable enough to have that conversation.
Yeah.
For the cameras to capture that type of conversation is something you don't normally do. And it necessarily doesn't happen even on a podcast when people are having an honest discussion, right? People kind of filter their words and do all this stuff. But that was no filter conversation about how things are.
If we can openly have the conversations, I think we're working towards a better understanding. Well, let's get back to tough as nails. So, popular question: your favorite individual competition and your least favorite or most challenging competition?
What was my favorite competition in the individual? Hmm. Um, the bulldozer one was fun. That was a fun one. Um,
And in that we could talk about the dynamic between you and Scott.
Yes, I didn't realize, like, it's really funny. I did when I saw the show, I laughed because I'm like, dang, Scott, me and you, we were like, you would think we were like thick as thieves. I mean, but we are, we are. Don't get me wrong. We definitely are. There was this chemistry on camera. Like, I love messing with him. It was it was good camaraderie. And when we paired up, of course he won. But I was like, because I said to him, I said, everyone has a bad day. Like, I was just like trying to get in
Exactly
his
what
mind.
you said.
Like, everybody has a bad day. And in my mind, I was like, I better have a really damn good day.
You
So,
had a good day.
oh, I did. Um, the worst individual challenge? Oh, it was the slime eels. Oh my gosh, it's terrible. I think that kind of showed people where they were mentally at, and some people weren't there.
Did they smell bad?
It was a smell that didn't disgust me. It was just like, oh, we're in the pier. Oh, these are fish. I think with Phil, yeah, when he pulled up the slime eel. I was like, I, I was really mad.
He
I
and
hate
he
you.
was having trouble getting it out of that bucket. He was dropping it all over the place. And you had
Yeah.
250 pounds of slime eels.
And in my mind, like we saw it, and he was like 250 pounds. And I looked at the slime meals. I go, this is less than a pound each of slime meal. Like in my mind, I said, this is about 350 to 400 slime meals that I'm gonna have to put in this little, laundry net. Okay, if I could get 10 at a time, like I started mathing it out, and I go, okay, if I have to do this, if I could get 10 in at a time, it'll take this amount. Okay, I got to run back and forth. I'm not going to run. I'm going to walk fast. This is a marathon, not a sprint. Okay.
So, as a math problem, was putting it down your shirt just an extra integer?
It was because it was in my mind, Phil explained the rules that you have to use, what you had to use, but there was nothing in the rules that he said you couldn't put it down your shirt. So in my mind, part of the rules that Phil said, you have to bring them over live. So you couldn't do anything bad. You couldn't hurt animals. We're not hurting animals on the show. If I lost I had backup plans. Like I said, if some of these eels get out, I said, I will put them in my shirt and just cinch my belt and just hold them in there. So I was like, okay, that's a backup plan.
Not only did you put eels in your shirt, but Sally put eels in your shirt. You're like, just put them in my shirt. That was great.
Because I had lost a couple, and I could feel like I was holding the bag, and I could feel one getting out. So I was like trying to stuff it back in, and I was like, Sally, put it in my shirt. Sometimes as a pilot, you got to improvise. So
It was insane to watch.
what was the look on your face when she did that and you saw me do that?
It's like, what? But what a good competitor to stop what she's doing to help you.
Well,
exactly. And that happened in the beginning when you guys came, before you even started, you come flying around that corner and you lost your footing. But Iraida and
Sarah.
I mean, they stopped to lift you up. Not that
Yeah.
you couldn't have got up on your own, but I mean, what great competitors, friends, just great sportsmanship. I just wanted to talk a little bit about Savage Crew's win in the drywall challenge that cinched your overall win on the team challenges.
Yes.
You guys were so smooth.
Yeah, we were so focused that day. I think a lot of that episode, if I remember correctly, everyone's like, it's not personal, it's business. But the moment we walked in there and saw that challenge, like in my mind, I was like, dude, it's all out. It was going down. And that's what we set to do. We were not gonna stop. We got into this rhythm and you could not stop us.
Do you remember what it felt like to win?
It was a great feeling. It was beautiful. I mean, I think we were all just we were tired, but there was this emotion, there was this proudness. We rocked it. Yeah, I'm smiling because I'm in that moment right now, but it's felt really good.
That's great. Hey, you got to hold on to that, don't you?
Yes.
Any closing words of wisdom or advice that you would like to impart?
I think a lot of people right now, COVID is becoming more of a norm for people, but I think people are still struggling uh, for the past 2 years with some people with isolation, some people who have not had that human connection with people, with other people who've stayed indoors, who's kind of closed in. I think that has affected a lot of people mentally. And I think for those people out there who are struggling and trying to grasp it and trying to regain life as normal, for them, I would say that look at this as a challenge to reinvent yourself and to find other things that are meaningful to you. So for some people, reinventing yourself and going out there and finding things that not also bring you joy, but put that spark back into you. Because I think a lot of people lost their spark over COVID. They've lost their will to do a lot of things. Um, they said, I just want to sit home because the world is just too much. And you have to find, you have to be willing to want to get up and find that spark. And I think when people watch Tough as Nails and you watch what these people who are the backbone of America are doing in spite of COVID, that should give you this internal spark to get out there and go and do something.
I think that's great advice, and definitely watching Tough as Nails is a good way to get that spark back. I think it's the only show on TV where people are jumping off the couch, yelling at the TV, and just, I mean, they're getting in there, and it's exciting. And so just take that energy, that enthusiasm, and walk out the door with it, and take it out to the world, right?
And absolutely. I mean, and Tough as Nails is probably one of the few shows where it's not scripted, but it's not about drama. The drama is in the competition. The drama is watching people overcome fears and other things to show you that it is possible. It takes hard work, but if you keep pushing and if you're persistent, you will eventually persevere. And if and as you persevere, you will learn stuff about yourself and learn these things and grow. So they don't call it growing pains for nothing.
Well, Merle, I mean, I love your advice. I've enjoyed so much talking with you. I mean, laughing and then getting serious on some issues that just need to be talked about. And I think you're an amazing person, and what a great example for folks out there to look up to. So thank you for taking the time to hang out on More Than Tough and be part of this podcast. I can't thank you enough.
All right. Thank you so much for having me. This is awesome.